Yo, Natsu here. Here for part 7, I think. So, in the last part, I didn't actually see anyone actually posting any comments, so I don't know how you actually felt about that. But yeah, Deku unlocked Float. And basically, that's during the muscular fight while trying to save Koda. Basically, muscular. Well, now let's start back at the end of last part. Izuku basically started floating when they were starting to go down, with Muscular seeing it and saying, "What's going on? So you had another quirk that you were hiding. Interesting." And basically ripping a stone from the cliff, going to throw it at Deku. Deku basically makes a black whip, wraps it around, basically grabs it to the cliff as well, and basically forces himself away from the stone, while trying to bring himself closer to the cliff. Basically making a movement that pushes him sideways. So instead of just going straight for the cliff, he's basically doing a semicircle to get to it further away from Muscular. When he reaches the cliff, he basically pushes Koda down, puts Koda down, and basically gets ready to fight Muscular again, thinking, yeah, he won't escape. So he needs to actually do something. Basically, Deku decides that, even if he broke his arm, he can still hit Muscular at least. And basically decide that he needs to end it in one hit to bring Koda back to either Mandalay or some other teacher. So Aizawa or Bloodshot, I think that's his name. The one with the ability to to send his blood and basically crystallize it. But yeah, so basically he turns towards Muscular and charges his entire body at the max that he can right now. So without breaking himself, 22%, since he was basically activating the quirk for the entire time he was in the forest alone. So his body basically adapted to basically being damaged constantly. So that's basically around the part where his body is starting to get numb and all of his nerves are activated, saying that it hurts without actually breaking him. So basically that's just to get closer to Muscular. Basically he starts jumping, Muscular just really liking this since we all know he's a battle junkie. And basically they just go straight at it, with Deku trying to find an opening to actually use 100% only once. Basically, he thinks he found one after not even a few seconds, charges his arm at 100%, which is in total 100 and, I'm not kidding, 16% right now. So 316% of what All Might could do, or what Izuku could do at 100% in the anime / manga. So a lot more powerful, let's just say that. And basically he goes straight for a blow. Muscular uses his arm to block, with feeling the huge amount of power, basically even though he has all of his muscles out, nearly the perfect body armor made of muscle. The entire part of his arm that was touched, well, actually, his entire arm almost got ripped off. It didn't get ripped off, but it did break. While Izuku's arm also basically got rendered quote-unquote useless, almost. With Muscular being really impressed by that, because literally he can't use his arm. He can, well, no, he can still use it, but basically the bones are broken, so it's a lot harder since it hurts, but we all know that he'll still use it. Deku wasn't able to finish it with that hit, and basically decided that he needs to do it again, this time going for the other arm, thinking I need to keep my legs at least. So, once again, basically starts jumping around, Muscular seeing the pattern, and getting ready to basically hit a blow with his own hit, basically making even more muscles around his arm to basically try to dampen the blow even more. But basically around his entire body, actually. Basically, Deku goes for another punch. Muscular blocks again. This time, since he added even more muscles, yeah, the bone still broke in his other arm. But he basically did just like in the anime, and basically pushes Deku in the ground, trying to suffocate him, pushing down on him and basically trying to crush him. So kind of the same moment as in the anime, except that Muscular is going a hell of a lot harder right now, with Deku basically never having pushed himself that far, or at least not for that long, at least. Deku's just asking himself how he can save Koda, because if he breaks his entire body, Koda won't be able to be brought back to Mandalay, and he won't be able to help others, while during that time, well, most of the villains are basically, well, Silverfish, or whatever his name is getting demolished by Bakugo and Shoto, who are way above what they were in the anime at that moment. Simply because they had a hell of a lot more, what's it called? Not ambitions, what the hell is the word? I hate when that happens. Desire to train. I know it's not the word, but I can't find the other one, so let's just go with that one. But yeah, so they basically trained a lot harder, and since they were seeing Deku every day, even in an even worse state, they were basically thinking every day that they weren't pushing themselves far enough. They could do better. They could continue to do with, even if they're hurt, it's nothing compared to him. So they have to continue. Basically forcing their bodies to adapt, well, to increase their quirk's power a lot faster. Yeah, hurting themselves a lot, but meh, it was still pretty much okay. In fact, a few times the Pussycats, since Aizawa was perfectly okay with what they were doing, but yeah, Mandalay and Tiger, by multiple times, were telling some of the students to calm down a bit, because they were literally just breaking their body at that point, with the students basically keeping it going. There's a cat! Sorry. But yeah, so basically the villains are being resisted a lot easier. So then we just go back to Deku, who's basically being pushed down to the ground, almost being crushed, until Koda basically does like in the anime, with Muscular distracting him, with Deku just thinking that no, he has to save Koda. He needs to go past his limit. And starts doing just like in the anime, trying to push it beyond, 100%. Which, in this case, is going way, way too far. Like, Deku's body can regenerate easily. But right now, even during the normal time that he uses it, one for all always, his regeneration is always trying to push it to try and heal. Right now, that's basically being almost pushed to the curb, because it has no capacity to even try to do anything. The damage Deku's doing to his body, basically putting one for all to nearly 200% around his body. So basically pushing it so far that literally, compared to the 1,000,000%, yeah, it's not that great, but even then, the 1,000,000% of Deku wasn't anywhere near a true 1,000,000%. Literally, the planet would have exploded, probably. No joke. But yeah, if he did push it to 1,000,000% in the anime, Muscular would have just exploded, even with the amount of muscle he had. So it was basically just the limit of how far he could push it above 100%. That happened. But yeah, basically this time with a 3 times stronger, Muscular was literally just at his limit already. Like, even 1% more, Deku could have won, but he basically just decided to go to 100%, thinking, I need to do this, knowing that his version of One for All was already 3 times stronger than All Might, from what he understood. Basically, he just thought, I have to increase it, but I have to make sure my body doesn't, break to the point of me dying. So he basically just decided to double the power, seeing how All Might was able to push it past 100%. That's also the reason why he decided to go that far in the anime, pretty sure. Well, anime and manga. But yeah, basically he decided to double the percentage, literally forcefully increasing it, which Deku was feeling in his entire body, even though he was only putting One for All in his arms. Like, they were broken. It's the first time he's actually using them while they were broken. But he's pushing it. And basically Muscular is just like really being pushed back. For the first time, he's nearly being, his muscles are already being destroyed just normally right now. Just with Deku pushing him back. He's at his limit. Deku's pushing past his own limits. And then Deku does the same flick as in the anime. Basically removing a huge amount of muscle from around him. And then the punch. Even with all of the muscle around Muscular, that punch didn't just throw him to the cliff. That time, they were placed a bit differently, with Muscular literally being punched straight away from the cliff. And a lot of people, everyone that was towards that side, which wasn't a lot of people, but basically just saw, didn't see something pass, but felt a huge amount of wind. Like, a part of the cliff was blown away because of Deku's punch. And basically that wind kept going. And everyone towards that way basically felt it for almost a kilometer away. Like, that's how much wind was made. Both because of Deku's punch, and also when Muscular was basically being pushed away until a kilometer away. There was a lot of wind pressure made by that just because of the resistance on his body. Yeah, he made a sonic boom while going. So, yeah, that's how strong Deku was in that moment. Breaking his arm literally that time to the point where it shattered, completely purple, like he's not able to move it anymore. His other arm, he could still use it and will heal in less than a day. But the arm he used for the first time, well, twice in a row without letting it heal, will take a bit longer. Deku basically told Koda to grab on and basically started to go towards where he met Aizawa. Though this time he was partially using float at the same time, which, when Aizawa saw Deku, basically he called in Deku. Deku basically used float to slow himself down, which Aizawa saw him just float in the air for a second before going towards him. And Aizawa, basically seeing Deku's arm broken, asked what happened. Basically knowing that there's villains, Aizawa told him that they weren't supposed to fight, with Deku saying that he had saved Koda. Then Deku's about to say that he needs to leave to tell Mandalay that, well, he already saved Koda, with Aizawa just looking at him and telling him to wait a sec, and then tell him that he needs to tell Mandalay who they're looking for, as well as to tell her to say every student that they can fight. Basically not saying about the new quirk just because it's not the right time, but seeing that Deku does have a new quirk. Well, basically he doesn't ask Deku there, but while bringing Koda back, he basically asked Koda, what was that? Basically asking him what happened. Koda explained about muscular and that Deku basically, well, sent him away really far with a punch. Then Aizawa asked more precisely, no, when I called him, he stopped in the air. What was that? With Koda just looking at Aizawa weirdly and saying that, well, at one point he was about to be pushed off the cliff by the villain. Deku jumped to save him, but while they were falling, they just stopped. With Deku also looking puzzled. Basically making Aizawa understand that he got a new quirk again. Aizawa by this point just thinks that, yeah, no, it's just Deku's body being extremely different than anyone else. Basically, his quirk being activated only once he trained, and basically having all of those uses, and now this one. He will ask Deku what's going on, but for now, he's basically going back to where the students that failed are. This time Deku arrives a lot faster to the battlefield, since obviously he has more power and he already has float. So basically, Spinner isn't about to kill Mandalay when he arrives, but still stop both him and the other guy with the magnet quirk. Basically, the Mandalay and Tiger screaming at him that, well, asking him what's going on. Deku saying that Koda's safe, and then tells Mandalay that he know who the villains are after. Also, that Aizawa asks her to let every student know that they can fight. She basically sends through her quirk to every student that they can fight, and then ask who the person they're looking for is, with Deku saying, just like in the anime, Kachan. Her not understanding directly, but still sending it. With everyone who keeps hearing Deku calling Bakugo Kachan, knowing who it is, Bakugo getting angry because the villains are after him, meaning that they either think that, oh, he's going to be the one that will get us the more attention, or something different that he doesn't know yet. Since he doesn't realize that he acts like a villain. Well, he was basically told that by Beth Genus a few times, but he doesn't keep it in mind ever. So yeah, he doesn't think about that possibility. But yeah, so for the student fighting, basically, except again for those that are against the marble guy, almost every student do pretty well. Yes, Toga got some blood, but she's able to escape. God damn. I don't know if you heard that, but it almost sounded like gunshots. Though I know it wasn't gunshots, it's just fireworks, but still. But yeah, so basically, every student from 1A is a massive amount better than in the anime and manga, while Class 1B did get better, but mostly just because they saw how the others were just training that hard, and it basically pushed them to try and not let themselves be, placed at the bottom tier again. So, yeah, they were trying to train themselves harder, but they really weren't going all out. Like, nowhere near the same amount. So, after, that happened, Deku went to the forest to try and look for the others. Basically, he was trying to find them, and so he decided to think, while looking around, why don't I just jump? From above, I'll be able to see a lot easier. Like, if there's a fight, there's going to be movement. So, he basically puts load around his body and then pushes up, kicks the ground so hard that he basically jumps off to like 200 meters around above the ground easily. Like, he really didn't want to go that far up, so he didn't use too much of One for All. But yeah, so Deku basically just pushes himself to new heights. First one he finds is Tokoyami, since obviously a massive shadow is going to be easy to find when it's destroying everything. He basically lets himself fall, puts back float just before getting to the ground, to push himself forward, going straight for there. Shoji, I think that's his name, the multi-arm guy, who was with, I just have Dark Shadow in my mind, but that's the quirk, Tokoyami, basically because of how Tokoyami lost control. But then Deku basically just kind of smashes straight into Dark Shadow, basically pushing him to the side, seeing Shoji, and basically screaming at him that they need to find a way to beat him. Basically recalling that they need light to do that, and basically telling Shoji that they need to find Bakugo and Todoroki. Shoji basically sees Deku's arm being literally broken, with one being way worse than the other, asking him if he's okay. Deku saying that he's fine, and basically telling Shoji that they need to go. Shoji asking in which way, with Deku basically doing the same thing as previously, jumping off, looking around, and basically he had seen, when he jumped to see Dark Shadow, he had seen, a pillar of ice from Todoroki, so he knew which direction, but he just wanted to be sure it was still there, or at least that it was the right direction, and basically went. Dark Shadow was following them, with Deku basically kicking rocks from time to time towards him to basically keep the attraction directly to him, with Shoji just following. Shoji asking at one point if Deku wanted him to just kind of bring him, since obviously Deku being hurt that much can't be good, right? At least for anyone normal. With Deku saying basically Deku just thinking that, yeah, he's exhausting himself right now. Even though he has a lot of stamina, it would be good if he could rest a bit, since other things could happen, and basically accepted Shoji's proposal. With Shoji being then, doing like in the anime, holding Deku and using some of his arms, basically extending them to keep Tokoyami interested. Well, not interested, but towards them. At one point they saw the ice. Well, Shoji saw the ice correctly, continued going. They found Bakugo and Todoroki, who basically were just there with a villain literally on ice. Well, in ice, I should say. Seeing Dark Shadow and Deku just screaming that they need light. Todoroki going straight for his fire, with Bakugo making explosions, calming him down, and basically going for other people. During that time, basically everything else was kind of happening the same. Well, except that with the students from 1B being a bit better, and students from 1A being a lot better. But it wasn't an easy win for everyone, obviously. It's not everyone who's 3 times stronger. But yeah, so they basically find the guy who can make marbles. He does basically the same thing in getting both Todoroki and Bakugo. Few things happen, with Deku basically just being stronger this time and faster, so catching him like once. So they're able to save Todoroki once again. Bakugo, on the other hand, Deku was faster than in the anime, but this time they didn't actually give him a chance to try and help, since they knew he was stronger. So they basically took Bakugo, and Shigi just kind of showed his face to kind of mock Deku before leaving. Anger, well, basically he did just like in the anime and manga, basically grabbing Bakugo's neck and bringing him, but basically just kind of looking at Deku directly, telling him that he's not strong enough to save him before leaving. So angering Bakugo that, well, he got caught, and angering Deku that he wasn't able to do shit. Basically, after that, kind of just like in the anime, clear up happened. They found Muscular a lot further away than in the anime. Literally in the middle of the forest in a crater. Not a big one, but still. And seeing that both his arms were broken. Same thing happened with, I don't remember her name, but the ones that put the tracker on one of the Nomus, tracker made by Momo. But yeah, basically they're brought back to, well, bleh. I'm having trouble talking right now because, yeah, I'm starting school tomorrow, and I'm really not interested. But yeah, so where were we? Oh yeah, they go back to UA with a few people going straight to the hospital. Inko and All Might going for Deku, mostly. Like, All Might was told that, All Might was told by Aizawa that he got a new quirk again, and that now he can float or fly. He doesn't know exactly right now. With All Might thinking specifically of Nana and knowing that, oh shit, he got more quirk. With Deku already knowing that he's going to get most of the quirks. Probably. Since he already deduced that if I get more quirks, that just means I might continue to get more. And then talking with Black Bolt, I think his name was. The guy who, the original user of Black Whip. Yeah, it's not Black Bolt. I don't remember. But yeah, anyway. Well, basically after Bakugo was caught, Deku got angry and basically accidentally used One for All at 100% through his entire body. Until basically someone kind of forcefully knocked him out. Since obviously it wouldn't be good. They were looking at his arm and were like, nope, not letting him do that. Only reason they were able to basically knock him out was because, well, it was mostly Todoroki who basically forcefully froze him completely. Basically giving a shock to his body that just kind of knocked the wind out of him fully. He removed him from the ice fast enough to not let him die though, don't worry. But yeah, basically that was happening. So while he was still in the hospital and basically in what looked like a coma, basically they think his body's used way too much energy. Also, when he put 100% around his entire body, he broke a huge amount of things in his body, and they were just thinking it's a miracle he's still alive with how much damage he has. He's lucky to be able to heal fast. So yeah. But during that time, he was actually talking for the first time with more than one previous users. 3 to be precise. The original user, basically Deku saw the same vision as when he used Black Whip for the first time when he was sleeping in his room. Then basically, since Deku has more control over One for All, he was also able to basically stay there for a while. He wasn't able to talk yet, but meh. With the first user, Nana, and the user of Black Whip, basically telling him that he's impressive. He grew faster than anyone should. And that even the quirk, One for All, and all the quirks in them were actually evolving. And they keep getting stronger while in his body and every time he uses One for All. Which shouldn't be happening in the way it is. Basically, talking to him for a while, telling him about, having all the quirks, and also, Deku didn't get the talk about how One for All was created, since he didn't have his blood taken from Stain, or actually struggled that much with him. Yeah, he struggled, but it wasn't like, oh no, I'm almost killed by him. Yeah, sorry for the voice, I don't know why I did that. But yeah, basically All Might told him to be careful, but never actually told directly about how it was created. So the first user was the one to tell him about it. With the 2 others basically explaining a few things. And basically telling him that he's going to get 7 quirks. And then correcting him, the first user basically saying that, and then correcting himself saying 8 because of his healing. basically saying that that's not in One for All, and that it looks like he actually just had it from the start. But not at the same time. Basically saying that his body is just weird. When One for All was given to him, his body was weaker. But in a few hours, it's as if multiple things awakened in him. His body strengthened almost instantly. His durability increased tremendously. And even One for All was boosted. It was tripled in the matter of minutes. Almost instantly. It was as if the power in Deku just kind of surged around Deku's entire body, connected with One for All, and augmented that as well. Which awakened all of the previous minds earlier for Deku, but they were just capable of seeing him, and were basically amazed by how he was doing. So that was basically happening. All Might didn't know yet about the previous users basically being able to talk to Deku until Deku woke up. His mom wasn't in the room, basically having been told to stay out for a bit. More that she needed to go to sleep, and they didn't let her be in the room while she was sleeping. But yeah, All Might was there, and when he saw Deku wake up, he had a stern look on his face, and had a few notebooks. Basically, while Deku was knocked out, his body was healing pretty well for most of the damage, except his arm. Which Recovery Guild was basically being looked for to bring her to Deku, but she was basically healing everyone else, saying that he can wait. He can heal himself pretty fast anyway, so there's going to be less to do when I get there. So for him it's going to be a bit longer. Basically because they know that Deku won't actually get any damage left. But they did tell him when they actually... All Might and Inko were told that if his body didn't have a healing quirk, what he did while in the forest, basically after being told what training he did, which was basically keeping his power active to an amount that was too high for him, which Inko was told at the same time, then the doctor, if anyone else with his type of power did that, they would have died. Their bodies wouldn't have been able to survive that. In fact, if his body wasn't as durable, and even then, basically telling directly that his bones are damaged in a way that if he wasn't able to heal them, it would have caused permanent damage, or near permanent damage, if they kept using them like that. So, basically, putting the pressure that what he's doing is not right. For anyone else, it would be called near suicide. Inko was actually sad because, he literally... not sad, but she wasn't really in her right mind at that point, because literally, by 2 times, this school was attacked during, times they were out of school. And in each of those, 3 times, because there is the island, but that one she cannot actually put it on the school. Actually, nobody can. But basically, all 3 times that villains attacked, Deku was one of the people with the most damage, period. In fact, even those that actually saw him the doctors that examined him for the island incident literally said that if he didn't have a healing quirk, he probably would be dead. Nothing more, he would have been, most likely. So, also, basically, All Might asked Deku how he felt right now, and basically Deku said that, well, there was a few things he needed to say. That he was fine, but that he learned a few things while he was there, and also while he was, well, asleep. All Might asking him what it is, and Deku telling about the vestiges. And then saying that, well, he's going to get all of the previous users' quirk. And that the three he talked with, actually said that the quirk became 3 times stronger the moment he got it. And that and that every time he actually uses it, it keeps increasing in strength. And basically, just before actually leaving, the first user told him directly that compared to when Deku got it, basically Deku's telling to All Might that the first user told him directly that compared to the moment Deku got it, the quirk actually got boosted to 318% compared to the power that All Might had. Basically telling All Might that at 100%, Deku is 3 times All Might. Like, nobody should be able to have that much power easily. And the 18% is basically the amount that he kept boosting. Then All Might asked Deku who he saw. With Deku saying that he saw the first user, the 4th user who used Black Whip, and that the last one was actually the user of the new quirk he just got. Basically, right now he's only able to see those that he's actually able to use. Which is different from the anime, but that's actually because of how he got the rest of his powers, which was from the reward from gods. Well, from the gods from his world, which basically partially blocked Deku's, well, capacity to talk with them for a while. But yes, in a bit he's actually going to be able to see all of them. It's just that in that moment, he was only able to see those 3, basically those from who he got powers. So the first user who had the original One for All, the 4th user who had Black Whip, and the 7th user who was Nana. So, yeah. Deku literally doesn't know yet that he's going to be able to talk with all of them. But every user, even the 2 that in the anime and manga were actually not sure if Deku was actually the right choice, and basically withheld their quirks from Deku. This time, those 2 were actually pretty much okay with Deku having their powers. He doesn't have them yet for some reason, but it's pretty much just that, literally, his body is still developing at an alarming rate, and every time he gets a quirk, it's either in a moment where he's basically in danger and that his body's basically trying to force out more power, or, which will happen soon, when he's actually going to finally stop and actually talk with the other users. Like, from his own will, not just because he passed out. Which is actually kind of how it happened, for why he has, 6 of the 7 quirks in the manga. Basically, he finally stopped, decided to put his mind straight, talked with them, were told about their quirks, and then got them. But yeah, in this one, he's basically going to get most of them pretty fast, for obvious reasons. But yeah, so All Might basically told Deku that since the time he unlocked Black Whip, he's been looking around for information about the previous users. He then said that, yeah, none of the previous users that he was able to find about actually had a healing quirk. And then talked about the 5th user, who was the one before Gran Torino, like directly telling Deku about what that guy had found. Basically, just saying it outright in that moment, because of Deku's healing quirk, which could balance it out if it truly was Deku's original quirk. Basically saying that the 5th user actually found out about how, sorry about that, One for All breaks the body down if the person already had a quirk. Basically explaining that that user never actually went to try and fight villains, and always just went training, basically pushing One for All to new bounds extremely fast from him. And then saying that after, what was it, 10, 15, 20, around that amount of years before he basically saw that his body was literally breaking down because of One for All basically overbearing capacity over his body, who already had a full glass from already having a quirk. Basically from how All Might explained it. So basically that's why All Might's not sure right now if Deku's going to be okay. Since if you already had a quirk, your body might break down. But if your healing quirk is able to balance it out, you shouldn't have any problems. Which, at one point they will actually learn that, yeah, no, he won't actually have any problems, but yeah. Basically, Deku asking what their quirk were, with All Might only saying about one, the one from the 5th user, which was, saying that the 5th user actually had the quirk Danger Sense, so sensing when there was danger. So now Deku knows about 4 of those quirks. Yeah, I already know about 2 of the others, which are one being, sorry about that. Pretty sure he's going to get Gran Torino's quirk, which basically allows him to propulse himself with air. The second one is one that basically utilizes power, basically the last quirk he unlocked, I think. Last time I stopped reading the manga. Basically the one that allows him to be even stronger, like pushing his power to new bounds, basically making him still using, I think it was 30 or something %, but having the same power as All Might at 100%. And last one is Smokescreen. I think that's all the quirks that he gets. I'm not sure. Might have to check again, but I think that's all of what he gets. But yeah, so All Might doesn't tell him about the other quirks, since obviously all he told him about was Danger Sense. But yeah, so All Might then told Deku about what they're going to do to try and rescue Bakugo. And for the first time, he told Deku to not come, and told him to stay put. Basically telling him that he destroyed his body way too much, and even if he is healed by Recovery Girl, his body might still need time to rest. Obviously, Deku won't listen to that. And yeah, basically the same thing as in the anime happened. Heroes went, prepared to basically go to the two different locations. Deku talking about going. Same types of conversation happening, except with Deku not having his arm broken as much. Basically, Recovery Guild passed by his rooms since they knew he was able to take it this time. So basically called her specifically for Deku to be healed. Though All Might wanted her to not do it so that he basically would stay put. It didn't happen. She still went. Basically after that same talk, Ida, Momo, Kirishima, Shoto, and Deku going to try and help rescue Bakugo, with the rest of the class staying behind. And basically, all of that's literally the same except with Deku not having problems with his arm. All the way up to the moment where they're about to save Bakugo. Like when he gets transported to where All For One is. All Might start fighting One For All, having a bit more power. And basically, when they launch into the air to save Bakugo, they save Bakugo, but Deku had more purpose this time, which was to actually use Float to keep them in the air. Also to catch Bakugo if he wasn't able to get close enough with Black Whip. And then kick or something, like kick or punch in the air to basically push them further. So basically saving Bakugo that way. And actually having one thing that kind of helps everyone is that Mount Lady still gets hurt as much, but yeah, when they ran away, Deku did something that kind of helped All Might a bit, which was when Mount Lady was falling, he actually grabbed her as well, basically removing her from the area, basically making All Might be able to go a bit further. So basically after she was knocked out, about to get knocked out, like she was falling back, Deku grabbed her with some Black Whips, telling her to shrinking back to her normal size, and just kind of kept going, removing her from the battlefield so that she wasn't just there during the battle. Yeah, I know someone else did save her, but anyway. So after that, the fight basically went the same for All Might and All For One. Except with All Might having a bit more power this time, from not being injured as much from the Nomu, or having to use as much power in, every incident actually, where Deku was there. Deku was able to take a big amount of charge. So yeah, I'm counting the island as canon in this one, since obviously, and counting that place as another part where his power had lowered. So this time, since he didn't have to go as far, his power is still higher from that as well. So he's able to go a lot further against One For All, beating him a bit faster, still losing, keeping just enough of One For All to basically beat him completely until it left, which everyone saw his normal form, skinny form, and basically the same having almost everything the same for that part, just with Deku saving Bakugo a bit easier, and removing Mount Lady from the battlefield. So all of that basically helped for that part. But yeah. Then same thing about everyone basically, like everyone being against one UA, because obviously 2 incidents where the students were basically attacked, and some people in particular basically saying that a single kid was doing a better job than most adults, well, most of the teachers. Talking about Deku, mostly saying that he's injuring himself to save people when it should be the job of the teachers. With Deku at home basically thinking to himself, well, almost screaming, like saying it out loud, but mostly to himself while Inko's still there, hearing that. I'm doing this because I can. Basically, he doesn't want others to be injured and he knows he can heal, so he's basically just thinking that, yeah, no, I can do it. I can do that because I have the power too, and I won't be incapacitated forever. Which he doesn't know how far he's right in that words, in that wording, since, yeah, he will always, and I truly mean always, be alive unless he is actually killed, like head ripped off or brain destroyed. Basically think the no moves, but as long as his brain is intact, Deku could realistically heal. Though if only his head remains, it will take a huge amount of time to heal, with people most likely thinking that he's dead for a while until, well, sorry about that, but yeah, basically until his lungs and heart remake themselves so that he's actually able to talk. Basically, his brain basically doesn't actually need to still have oxygen to work. Well, basically he would be counted as brain dead until he gets his lungs back. But yeah, basically his body cannot rot or something like that. He won't deteriorate over time because of something like that. Yeah, Shigaraki can actually hurt him with his quirk, but that's basically because his healing cannot actually do anything against that. But as long as Deku's brain is intact, his body will regenerate. And not rot. Basically, his healing, constantly healing neurons and stuff like that are trying to die. Basically making it so that he doesn't feel pain, he doesn't hurt or anything, but as long as he has a bit of blood flow and oxygen, his body's just kind of out. So basically, if that happens to him, what it would be like for Deku is basically closing his eyes and opening them back. That would literally be how Deku sees it. For multiple reasons. With actually this going to happen at least once in the story, but later. Yeah, I'm already putting that out there. At one point, Deku's only going to be ahead for a while. With them not thinking for a few minutes that he's dead until they basically see that at his neck, the skin and muscles are basically growing back slowly. Basically telling them that, oh, he's actually coming back. But yeah, that's going to happen later. Don't keep that in mind. It's basically just a massive spoiler. Okay, yeah, no, I'm lying. It might not even happen. I'm basically at this point where I am with my scripts. It ends basically just after overhaul arc. And in that arc, something else happened, so I'm not even sure if I'm putting the head thing in the story yet. But still letting you just know that, yeah, he can heal from just the head, as long as his brain is still intact. Well, actually, even if it's not intact, as long as he has his brain, he will heal. Though, if you take a chunk out of it, yeah, at that point it might not actually be able to do too much. And he might just die. But yeah, hope you liked it. You leave a like if you did. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. Subscribe if you want to. Always like more followers. I never say that, but if you want to know, like get a notification that I post something, go to the bell and put it so that you can actually get notifications. But yeah, hope you liked it. Natsu, out.